All right, guys, we're live here on this Monday. You're watching Midnight Movie Talk with me, Eric Weber, as I just got out of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Is that right? The movie's got too many things going on in it. Let's just call it Doctor Strange 2. Here's where I'm at. This is a weird spot to be. Uh, we are now at a point where there is a social media embargo that is broken and we're allowed to talk about things social media wise. So I'm going to skirt around the review aspect of this in an interesting way. So I'm not breaking the embargo. I'm going to read, first of all, as we get started here tonight. Again, thank you for joining me here on Midnight Movie Talk. We are going to start with my social media reaction to Multiverse of Madness. So let's get to it and I'll read it for you. This is how you skirt the review embargo. Just a little bit. Shh, don't tell anyone, you guys. Keep it quiet, down low. Multiverse of Madness may not be top tier Marvel, but there's just enough fan service that hits the spot. It's Elizabeth Olsen that shines brightest here. We'll place this ahead of Eternals, but well behind No Way Home. One of those rides the middle films, hard to get too hyped for. That was my reaction tweet as I talked to you here tonight on this Monday night. I can't get into too much of the detail. I'm just going to tell you so you understand where we're at on Doctor Strange 2. This is, let's just play rank the Marvel movies. Do you guys want to do that? Let's do that. Recent Marvel films. We will start with the bottom of the barrel. Very clearly, we all know what that is, even though it's really not an MCU movie. We are going to put Morbius at the bottom, at the worst of the recent MCU films. Some of you are going to say Morbius is not an MCU film, and that's fair. But for the purposes of ranking and understanding where Doctor Strange 2 fits in to the catalog of comic book films of late, we're going to place Morbius in the bottom spot. The worst draft pick will be Morbius. Undrafted, if you're an NFL draft person. Morbius was not drafted. Above that, we are going to place Eternals. Eternals, not a great film. We need to agree on that, okay? And one of the main reasons Eternals is not a fantastic film is that it tries to do too much, and a lot of the characters we're being introduced to, and we don't really have a connection to them. And really, I don't see a lot of Chloe Zhao in that film. So that's an issue too. But Eternals would be above that. Now we're going to get to where Doctor Strange 2 fits into the MCU and where I would rank it. I'm going to place it on par with Black Widow. Okay? I'm going to put Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in a tie with Black Widow. Now, if you're going to ask me which film I want to watch again, I am going to say moments of Doctor Strange. Moments. I can't tell you which ones. Moments. But I'm going to choose Black Widow to watch again, even though I've only seen it once. I would go watch that film again for two reasons. Florence Pugh, David Harbour. Those are the two reasons that I'm going to pick Black Widow ahead of Doctor Strange 2. Here, if you're asking me what works, again, I can't get that into it. It's so hard. I pull up my reaction tweet. You know what we're going to do? This is going to be fun. And your comments are most welcome, and I can answer them as best I can here tonight because I know you're curious about the film. No spoilers. Let's get that straight. Not going to happen. I'm not going to tell you. Well, I will do this. I could tell you how many end credit scenes there are. Okay, I could do that. But I'm not going to tell you exactly what they are. That's not going to happen here. So let's go through, if we can here, let's go through some other reaction tweets, and I can react to the reaction tweets. Do you see what I'm saying here? Let's click on the Multiverse of Madness as the trending topic, and let's have a look at what I see right now. Okay, these are not here. Let's go to, I'm just going to start randomly grabbing people and see if it works or doesn't for me. I will review the social reactions here tonight on Midnight Movie Talk. Joshua Ryan. I do not know who this is. Mr. Movie Guy 86. Just watch Multiverse of Madness, and it's a Sam Raimi film through and through. I agree, Sam Raimi does show up in this film towards the end, very much so. Before that, scattered. The end has a lot of Raimi elements, okay? It features some of the most brutal and violent moments we've seen in the MCU. People die, okay? I would not say this is a horror film. I see things on Twitter right now saying this is a horror film. There are elements. This is not a horror film. Please don't go there. There are things that are horror-ish. This is not scary. If anyone says Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is scary, they are misleading you. Or they don't watch enough horror films. Because this is not a scary film. It's not a horror film. The darker elements are blended with silly humor and snippets of horror. It's a blast. I would not call this film a blast. That's my review of Joshua Ryan's tweet. Not a blast. That's his opinion. You can have it. I would definitely not call this film a blast. Let's go through and see if we got any more. Here's another one. Harry Bowles. The scariest and creepiest film Marvel has ever made. Multiverse of Madness definitely is a Sam Raimi film, and those visuals were amazing. The cameos are always fun. Story and the plot are the main focus. Elizabeth Olsen, once again, delivered in every scene she's in. Elizabeth Olsen is very clearly the standout here. You're going to see MVP all over the place because she is. Elijah Boxhill. So much fun. Listen, it's not as fun as No Way Home. So we guys got to understand, you got to bring the level down, right? So we can't have this Doctor Strange 2 is one of the best MCU films. If you're reading that, we got to dial it back. Again, I can't get into the full details, but I'm just going to tell you that this is a film that has moments that work, but there's a lot of stuff that just ends up being flat. And the reaction is not as visceral as it was to No Way Home. I know a lot of you are going to say that was fan service. Oh, the multi Spider-Man. Yes, but you know what? People loved it, and it worked for a reason because it was emotional and it paid off, and everything was there for that film. I think also I saw another reaction tweet saying that Doctor Strange 2 is really unique in that it visits these things we haven't seen. We just went to the multiverse in No Way Home. Now, granted, we didn't quite explore it at this level, but it's not like this is the first time anyone's seen the multiverse. So we got to remember that too. I think that what I really want to drive home tonight, without getting too far into the details, because we are just doing social reacts, is I would just take your expectations for Doctor Strange 2 and lower them. Not a bad film, not a horrible film by any means, but this is, I can't even give you my number because I'd be breaking the embargo. Just lower your expectations. Put it on par with Black Widow. I think that's very fair. So wherever you came on that film, if you were really high on that, maybe you'll be high on this too. But I think we all know that Black Widow is kind of another one of those rides the middle, really Florence Pugh. So we go there and we say Florence Pugh is the best part of that. And we go here and we say Elizabeth Olsen. So you have that, right? You have that commonality. But again, Black Widow also has David Harbour, who's amazing in that film. Really great, really fun. But it is messy. It's not a perfect film, and neither is this. So let's make sure that's stated here. Let's get to the comments, and I'll pull up some other social reacts here on this Monday. Again, appreciate you joining me here. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I really want to get your comments. That's what this is all about. Always is. Anytime, you can find me on Twitter or here, and I will talk to you. I like doing that. Everything I'm hearing has me more excited. Mixed, divisive reactions. Let me pull it up here, Gavin. I'm reading you here. Sam Raimi movie first, Marvel movie second. Sounds insane. Actually scary. It's not scary. That's my opinion, Gavin. I'm a huge horror film fan. Not a scary film. Okay. There's some cool horror elements at the end, but again, I would not place this anywhere. It's not a Sam Raimi horror film. Okay. But I think, Gavin, listen, again, mileage will vary. You guys have heard that so many times that some of you may come out of this film and really love it. I just don't expect, just lower your expectations. Okay. I think that's where we're at. And I think you guys understand. You can hear how I talk about this. And at the end of the day, if there's one thing, you guys can say whatever you want. Say Eric, this, that, and the other. The one thing I will always do is try to be honest and objective about these films. really not taking, as much as I love Sam Raimi and I grew up with Evil Dead, and there's so many of his films that speak to me from going back to my youth in horror films and going now. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to have to love everything I see here. You guys got to remember one other thing too. Is the movie worth the time? Matthews, yes, it is. It's worth the time. I just think that, again, it's not going to cliche blow your socks off. Okay, it's just not. But I will say also that when you talk about Sam Raimi in a Marvel film, you've got to remember one important thing about Marvel films. Okay, we saw it with Eternals. I mentioned at the top of the stream here. Chloe was brought in to do Eternals. What ends up happening in the Marvel system? Kevin Feige knows what he's doing. Marvel is a brand. They are the most successful brand in film going today. So you can't argue with the formula. You tend to not see the directors in their film as much as if this were a Sam Raimi horror film. And you guys understand that. Just like when you watch Eternals, you don't see the writer. You do not see Nomadland. You see very fleeting glimpses of that, just a little bit of it, but you don't see the full Chloe effect that you saw in her films. Again, Rider, Nomadland. This is not there. And I think the same thing here. You're going to see elements where you go, there's Sam Raimi. And then you're going to say, there's generic Marvel. And there's Sam Raimi. And so it's that understanding that the director of a Marvel film is not everything. You are going to see Sam here, but it's not a full wattage Sam Raimi film. But there are definitely times that you say, oh yeah, that's absolutely Sam Raimi. Okay. A lot of critics I'm seeing aren't saying how they actually feel, dancing around whether they liked it or not. Do some critics just want to play it safe with the MCU? Probably yes, Nick. I mean, we've had this discussion multiple times here on Midnight Movie Talk. A lot of critics are afraid to say really bad things about the MCU because at the end of the day, if you come out and trash a film, the studio, Disney tonight, could not extend you an invitation for the next one. But I think that this is not trashing the film. This is not a terrible film. Okay, we just mentioned. I say it's above Eternals, but well below No Way Home. I hope that we can at least agree that No Way Home is the best MCU film. Certainly, it's in the top 5. I mean, Endgame for me will always be number 1. So to even get anywhere near that, it's going to be very hard. So I understand that that's the expectation was never to have this film be up there. But I just wanted maybe a little bit above Black Widow and ended up in Black Widow. So yes, I think some critics are afraid. And also be wary. We've said this before. I'm not going to get into. I was going to actually drag somebody, and I don't want to do that because it's like, what's the point? You know who these people are. There are cheerleaders out there who will say good things to get quotes. Look at who they represent. Look at their outlet. Look at who they write for, who they work for, and then judge and look at what they're saying. You almost have to like play a game of what's really being said here. And I think you guys know one thing about me: I will never skirt around. It's just like straight up. And I think that's the hard part here. When I bring up again my reaction tweet, very very easily says, and this is the thing that makes it hard, is that it's hard to get too hyped for it, because I don't think there's ever a moment in this film where you just feel like this is it. This is wow. There is one thing that's super cool, a moment about midway through. You guys probably know what I'm referring to. I'm not going to say what it is because I told you this. Not going to happen. But it is good. But it's very short and then it's over. And then that's the problem, is that you get these high wattage moments and then you get the low wattage just riding the middle. Like I said in the reaction tweet again, guys, it's literally riding the middle. And that is never a great place to be. But ultimately, we are in early May. How many times have I talked to you guys about early in the year films? Now, granted, MCU is different. Comic movies are different. But in general, studios know they don't give you your best stuff until fall. It's just how it works, because they want to at least be considered for awards. Behind me, you're going to see an Endgame box for, well, the FYC screener. Endgame was, as you guys know, not a fall movie, but that was a film they pushed for awards. It didn't happen. It should have. It was one of the best films of that year, but it just didn't happen. This is not going to be anywhere near. There's not going to be a Multiverse of Madness FYC screener behind me. I'm going to call that here tonight. So that should tell you the level of quality here. Let's go to some more comments. So yeah, Nick, that's a good question. I always like talking about the business of being a film critic slash voice slash pundit. Benjamin W. I'm really surprised with the social media reactions. Usually they are more positive, even if they're meh. Do you think critics are being more honest with their reactions, or is this movie mediocre? That's what it is mediocre. And I think that's why you're seeing a more muted response from the social media tonight. When you see the really everyone, like, go back and look at No Way Home. I mean, just look at the reaction that I had. I mean, I just was effusive with the praise. So if that's what you're going to see, you can tell. And I think when you start to notice that the tweets are focusing on a performance, so in this case we are focusing on Elizabeth Olsen, that should tell you that the rest of the film isn't what we're discussing. We're talking about a performance. So that points to what I'm talking about. You accentuate the positive. So there's a lot of critics and pundits out there who accentuate the positive. And when you see that, then you probably, like you said here, Benjamin, you're going to see that it's not as glowing as certainly No Way Home. I think you probably saw a little bit of that of Eternals. I felt like Eternals was a little too high on the social media first reacts too. I feel it's more muted. I didn't, there's a few shouts in my screening, pretty full tonight. A few shouts, but in general, I wouldn't say that it was like out of control. It was just a few. Like I said, there's a couple of really good moments, and that's really where it is. So I think ultimately, here's the thing. When you have this film coming in kind of in this middle zone, it kind of affects where I'm at on the box office, because I have a number of 222 million on this, and after seeing the film tonight, I might revise that down just a little bit. I still think you're going to get a massive crowd right off the bat. Aaliyah, this is a good question. What is your cinema score prediction? The most important reaction, if not possible tonight, I understand. I think I can do that. Cinema score. Let's go over that. For those of you who don't know, if you do, then just tune me out for like 5 seconds, maybe 10. Cinema score. They poll regular moviegoers opening night, and they ask them what they thought of the film. Typically, a cinema score needs to be high. So really, when you look for a cinema score, you're looking for an A minus, nothing below that. Okay? So and the reason is, I know you went to school. I went to school. I don't know how it is now for the kids with the grades, but for me, a B was still okay. Not in the cinema score land. You want to be lower than A minus. It's really top heavy. I think this gets to a B plus, A minus. I'm going to put it on A minus because it's MCU and it delivers just enough of what the fans want. Like I said in the reaction tweet, it gives you the fan service that you want, not the fan service of No Way Home. That's next level. This is enough, and I think that's why we're going to get to a B plus, A minus. I don't think if this gets to an A, I will be shocked. An A is really strong. A plus, out of the question. A minus would be the best grade I see this getting, which is still okay. Okay, this is not going to be what did Morbius get? B. It was bad, but Morbius is not a great film. Okay, this is better than Morbius. But what if I came here and told you guys it's worse than Morbius? Can you imagine? That would be fun. That'd be really hard to do a stream because I'd want to just go off. The reason this is easy not to talk a whole lot about the details and really review it is that it just rides the middle. So much rides the middle. Carlos, Eric, I told you I was hearing the movie was mid at best, bad at worst. Yeah, I understand that a lot of people have been talking about things that have happened in the film. And again, I'm not going to tell you what's in it, but the plot point, Scarlet Witch versus Doctor Strange. I'm not going to break anything with that. You guys knew that. That's what the movie should be called. Doctor Strange versus Scarlet Witch. But it is mid, and I think that it's not the worst. I mean, but unfortunately, we've been, when MCU comes on, when you have the Marvel logo and everyone gets hyped, and it's, that first, just the surge of adrenaline, we're going to get this experience. And then right off the bat, you're treated to marginal effects. The first part of this film, some of the effects are just like, that's the best you have. It's not, it really looks green screeny and just looks like actors in a studio, and then we created all the stuff around it. I understand that's what it is, but you still have to mask it a little bit. I think the beginning of the film is not as energetic or, it just doesn't work as well as it should to get you really into the film, which that's a problem right off the bat. You really want to get that's one thing we have to say, and you know this is true. You can say whatever you want about Black Widow. The beginning of Black Widow kicks ass. Okay, that is a really strong opening scene. It's Bond-esque, right? And this is not. This is not a good opening scene. That's Black Widow has that too. So that's why again I'm gonna watch Black Widow again before I watch Doctor Strange 2 again. Style over substance. I think that honestly, Nick, even the cinematography here is not that impressive to me. In fact, a lot of it looks very flat. Um, I think there's more interesting ways to shoot things than here's a face, here, cut, cut, right? And I felt like it was just really cut and paste by the numbers direction for a lot of the early stuff. Later, when you see more of the Raimi thing, it's almost like, when I watched it, it's almost like you saw a different director at times, and then you see Sam Raimi. Isn't that weird? I don't know what the full story on that is, but sometimes you see Sam, and then other times he disappears, and that's why I wouldn't even say style here. I don't think it's a overly stylish movie. I wouldn't suggest this is cinematography contender or anything like that. This is not the Batman. Let's make sure that is 100% clear. The Batman is cinema. We can debate as much as we want about this, that, and the other about the Batman, but Matt Reeves and what he did with the Batman is cinema. This is not cinema. It's not. Okay, so that's for sure. So I wouldn't even say style over substance. I would say flat across on both. Substance flat and style flat. Uh, I will answer this question, Matthews. How many credit scenes are there, bro? Yes, I will do that for you. There are two. Okay, there's the mid and then there's the very end. I don't want to say anything more than that, but there are two, so you need to stay until the very end. Um, one more substantive than the other. That's all I'll say. One more substantive than the other. All right, let's go to Carlos again. Doctor Strange 2 went through almost 3 months of reshoots. Yes, Carlos, I wasn't fully aware. And the funny thing is when you watch films, a lot of times when you see the reshoots, the tip off is this. You see the film and you can tell where the reshoots are because the hair's different, right? Because they bring everyone back. After they've shot it, they have to go back and shoot the scenes. So all of a sudden you look at Benedict Cumberbatch's hair, it's longer. The wig's different, whatever. Because at times he's clearly wearing a wig, like when he has the ponytail in the opening scene. There's times that he's wearing a hairpiece of some sort. He has good hair. I just saw him at the Power of the Dog FYC event. I was next to him. He's not wearing a hairpiece, but in the film, there's times that the hair just doesn't match, and that's where the reshoot comes in. You look at it and you go, "That's a reshoot." I think that this was a trouble production. If you go in and look at what we had initially with Scott Derrickson, booted, relieved, whatever happened with that, Scott's out. And then here comes Sam. Whenever you have a replacement director, that's never a good sign for a film. But I will say, given that aspect that we know, this film isn't a total train wreck, which I had heard some rumors that it might be really bad. I don't believe it to be that. I just don't believe it to be a great film, and it speaks to 3 months of reshoots, them having to go back in and fix some of this. But I think it largely is fixed. I think it's largely works. Someone says they want to see Chris Gore's react. Did he have one? Let me read this. I was sitting. Chris was 2 seats down from me. I had my buddy Scott with me tonight. First time at a preview screening. He was pretty stoked for that. And Chris was next to him. So Chris and I looked at each other afterwards and we gave each other eye and we just went like that, right? This exact same time. We just went like that. Yes, it is. Let me see if I can find Gore's reaction. Give me 1 second. I got to dig him up on Twitter and we'll pop it up. Sometimes he doesn't tweet afterwards. And I always go, Gore, why don't you tweet afterwards? Like, that's what we do. You go to a movie first and you get your, I can't even find him. I follow him. Why am I not seeing him on my thing? I'll have to look for it. Give me a second. I'll find Chris Gore's reaction. But we both had the same exact, and that's the issue. It's just, it is that. It's, what's weird is when you come out of a movie sometimes and you have to say, you have a reaction that you really loved it or really maybe didn't love it. I think that's where I end up a lot of times, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. I was down on hard. And then you come out and you read these things like best movie ever and you go, whoa, couldn't be more on opposite sides. This is weird. It's disparate, like to a level that I can't even wrap my head around how this person says it's a masterpiece, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's a tonight. I don't think we're seeing that. We're not seeing this. It's a masterpiece. I'd love you to find me one. Tell me who said that. I doubt you're going to find it. And if you did, you're probably going to find someone who's called multiple movies masterpieces in the past 6 months. That doesn't count. Masterpieces are few and far between. Fitness with Julian, thanks for watching again tonight. Based on your reaction, EW, some of the others, I got to admit, my hype level has definitely gone down. I think it's fair. Just take your hype level down. Just squash it a little bit. Go in, enjoy it. Go see it on Thursday. This weekend, I still recommend the film. Okay. I just can't get into all the details, but I just will say that it just take your level down. And then I think you'll be okay with it. Will the family audience interpret it as scary or horror? Is it Batman level inappropriate or not a problem for family audience? Good question, Leah. It is not Batman level family friendly. It's not that, because that the serial killer element obviously is very much not family. This is better, but it's still not No Way Home. There's elements of, especially when at the end, when it turns into more of a horror thing and there's an alternate Doctor Strange. You guys have seen the trailer, you know the one I'm talking about, the scary Doctor Strange. That's intense, and some of the ghouls and spirits that show up on the screen. It's so hard to talk about a film without like doing it, but okay. You guys know, I don't think young kids should see this film. Okay, I don't. I would. My kids were little. I would never take them to see this. I don't think they would be scared. They'd be like, "We're leaving." So I think it does get too intense at the end, but it's still more family friendly than Batman, and it will still qualify as a 4-quad film for me. It's MCU. As much as you want to push that, unless you're talking about Deadpool, you're talking about an MCU film that is going to be largely accessible to a large number of people, which means it's a 4-quad film. So you got young, old, men, women. Okay, so that's everyone. That's the 4 quads. A couple more here. Let's keep going. Did you sense studio meddling? Benjamin, you almost always do with a Marvel film. Again, remember, it's Kevin Feige. In fact, it's very obvious it's Kevin Feige's really, like, it's a Kevin Feige film production. He's really there. Not that he shouldn't be. He's the head of Marvel, but he's really become the man, right? Over the past, you go back to the first Doctor Strange. In that time that he's built himself up, he is the god of Marvel. Obviously, you guys know that. So if there's an issue, he's going to correct it the way he sees fit. Did I see a lot of studio meddling? It's hard to say. I just, again, see some scenes that feel like some were Sam Raimi and some were not, right? So there would be your meddling. If you see, kind of like with Eternals, you see some Chloe, Nomadland, and then you see some generic film, action film. So when you have that juxtaposition of those two things, that is where the studio comes in and says, you might want to do this, and we're going to do that. And I think all filmmakers need to know that about Marvel. You have to understand that when you go to work for the machine, you're going to lose a level of your artistic control of the film. But I think most filmmakers know this by now. If you talk to Chloe, she would tell you that, not on the record, because she wants to work in this town. She cannot bash Marvel. No one can. Sam Raimi can't say anything bad. You just can't. You can't come out. Look at Lord and Miller, booted off of, well, whatever happened, removed from Solo, whether it was mutual or not. They haven't ever gone back and said, wow, Lucasfilm, Disney. They've never done that, because you don't want to burn bridges in this town. So that's why they just have not said anything. And I think that's the same thing with Chloe. She's not going to tell you that she'd never do another Marvel film, but she's never going to do another Marvel film. It's not going to happen. So it's controversial and will divide the fandom. Lots of critics saying that as well. Chris Gore ripped the movie. Okay, I got to find this now. God, where are you, Gore? Give me a second. I got to dig through my Twitter. Desktop Twitter sucks. You guys know what I'm talking about. Desktop Twitter is the worst. It is so much worse than the actual app. Here we go. I found it. Let's dig. Let's see what he said. Let's read what Chris Gore had to say. I got him up. The magic is gone. Hold on. Where? Give me a second. Sorry, gotta find it. Here it is. Am I missing the first part of this? Hold on. The magic is gone. Okay, here it is. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. This is the magic of live stream. I had to find the tweet. Now I have to pop it up. Why is it not sharing the thing? Give me a second. I got to pull this up again. Okay, here we go. All right, here comes Chris Gore's tweet. Let's have a look here. This is what Chris sitting 2 seats down from me and make it bigger for you. Let's make it the whole screen. Let's give Chris Gore's tweet everything, and I'll put myself in the smallest box possible here on StreamYard. No, let's just get rid of me. Goodbye. Actually, it doesn't matter. It's like there or not. It's 2 hours, and it felt 2 hours too long. I agree. This film is 2 hours and 5 minutes or so, and it definitely feels long. That's never good. Lacks heart and humor falls flat. I would agree with these things. Fan service cameos couldn't save it. It was Disney Plus-y, yes. Plotline out of a video game, big disappointment. He's harder on this than me, but that's more in line with where I am on this film. Okay, I think that what I said is I'm flat on it. The fan service stuff, the one scene that's worth this. Do you want me to say what it is? The one scene. I won't tell you who they are. You guys know. It starts with an I. The I scene is good. The eye scene is the best part of the film. The problem with the eye scene is that it's short. Okay, that's what it is. Um, I think I'm skirting all the restrictions by saying the eye scene. I'll bet it'll be an A minus. Maybe we'll find out. Oh God, Gore's watching. After you just ripped it and said it was terrible. Now you're saying it's fantastic. Chris, be a man of your word. What? No, I'm not going to go to the next comment. I'm not going to say he has a comment here that he's giving away things. Do not read the live chat in this because he's giving things away. Gore, get out of here and stop ruining the film for people. That was a good tweet. I like he was Chris. When he goes down, he gets brutal. I thought I was bad. I've said since the Thor trailer came out, Love and Thunder would be better, and everyone was laughing at me. Wesley, you're going to be right. You will be correct. Love and Thunder will be better than this. I would bet. What can I bet? Oh, I got it right here. I will bet my moose from Mitchell's versus the Machines to someone here tonight who is watching in the comments that if I do not like Love and Thunder more than Doctor Strange 2, I will send this to you. I will mail you my good luck moose from Mitchell's versus the Machines. He sits here on the desk. You can't see him. He sits right out of sight. All right. So you're right, Wesley. I think you're going to be right. It's better. Love and Thunder is going to be better. I haven't seen it, but I just know it's going to be better. Josh, good to see you, sir. Hearing that a Raimi movie feels flat is no bueno. Yes, it is. It's not full Raimi. Okay. It's not full Sam Raimi. It is semi Sam Raimi. The end feels part. And again, I just think Chris is when he rips it. I mean, that's not the worst tweet ever, but when he says, again, I'm reviewing social reactions tonight. It's 2 hours and felt 2 hours too long. I agree. Lacks heart and humor falls flat. Largely agree. Fan service cameos couldn't save it. Don't quite agree. Felt a bit too Disney Plus for me. Agree. Plot line out of a video game, maybe. Quasi agree. Big disappointment. Not fully with that either, but we're at least in the universe. Again, you guys now know where I'm headed on this. So again, Black Widow over Doctor Strange 2. Take that for whatever it's worth. If you didn't like Black Widow, then you probably won't like this. That's my guess. Eternals has a B cinema score. Did it really have a B? How quickly you forget. That's a bad cinema score. This will do better because you got to remember Eternals doesn't have any characters anybody cares about. That's the main problem of Eternals. There's no characters that anyone gives a crap about. By the way, count the times how many times Benedict Cumberbatch says crap in this. That's like his go-to line. I'm going to break that here tonight. Remember No Way Home. Let's Scooby-Doo this crap. He says crap at least 3 times in this film. I might have missed one 3 times. That is Cumberbatch's go-to. Now I got to go back and watch Power of the Dog again. It's back there somewhere. There it is. Does he say crap in that? I don't know. I feel like that's his crutch. It's like Brad Pitt. When Brad Pitt does this thing, he does this thing with his lips. I need to watch this film again. Watch Brad Pitt. Every performance he does this thing with his mouth. It's his crutch. I love you, Brad Pitt. If you're watching, I really do. He's my man crush. But he does this thing with his mouth. And now Benedict Cumberbatch says crap. That's his thing. It says crap a lot. Conclusion is negative neutral. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. Aaliyah, I started with your reaction, then just went off into this thing about Benedict Cumberbatch saying crap. Conclusion is negative neutral, not usual for MCU. Yes, I like how you put that negative neutral. The mid-credit scenes do not have established characters to reassure. Hopefully, this is an improvement. Aaliyah, I think you and I should hook up and we should go march over to Disney. We can walk from my place and we can knock on the door, the gates, and say, we can hook you up. You bring in that shit and I'll come in with some other things and say, here's how you fix your film. And we can do this. We'll be the movie doctors. I've actually pitched that with Scott Menzel. The two of us go in and watch a film. You can't save this. There's no way. It was like when I saw The Mummy. You guys see The Mummy? I saw. I shouldn't admit this, but I saw a test screening of The Mummy, and when I saw the test screening, I, the character who dies. What's his name? The actor. He dies, and then he's a ghost. Helps him out throughout the entire film. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, if you've seen The Mummy, when I saw that, if I was at the test screening, and I literally wrote on my paper, you need to eliminate that whole part, every bit of the dead friend advising him. There's no way to do it. But if I had watched The Mummy, we watch these films and you go, this is how you fix it. With Doctor Strange 2, how would I fix it? Script Doctor, how would I do this? How would EW fix Doctor Strange 2 and make it better? Tighten it up. More of the eye scene. And a little more Sam Raimi. Give him full watt. Give me full wattage Sam Raimi, but you're never going to get that from MCU, so that's not going to happen. I think they did the best they could with this. I feel, again, it's kind of like a cursed thing. You had Derrickson, you got rid of him, you got Raimi, you had reshoots. Benjamin, tell me, Black Widow, the beginning of Black Widow is the bee's knees. Said it the other night. It's such a hackneyed old phrase. It is the bee's knees, Black Widow, the beginning. Honestly, could have been such a cool movie. Agreed. They should have committed to those swings in the beginning throughout the movie. Yes. This movie doesn't even have that beginning. Okay. It doesn't even have that grab you and just go, oh, you're in this film, like Black Widow. This has a very mediocre at best, and the effects are bad. So the effects right off the bat, you're like, what am I watching? This is not great. And then it comes up. So it starts low and then it rides a little bit, evens, then it goes up for the eye scene, back down, and then so that's I'm not breaking the embargo, by the way. I'm not reviewing the film. I want to make sure everybody knows that. I'm not reviewing it. Chris Gore, we're reviewing Chris Gore's tweet. That's what we're doing here. And other people's tweets. Let me see if I can find another tweet. Let me click on the hashtag and review another social media tweet here tonight. That's the whole thing. I should just do the review social media tweets. You had to have seen the movie, otherwise you can't review the social media tweet. What's the point? I'm scrolling through looking for somebody else we can talk about. Where did Harry? Let's see who else we can find here tonight. Give me a second. Griffin. I know Griffin, so I'm not going to savage Griffin if I don't agree with this. Griffin says, if Multiverse of Madness proves one thing, is if you hire Sam Raimi to make a movie, you better damn well have him heavily involved in the writer's room. Massive disconnect between the script and Raimi's creative ambitions. Simultaneously, some of the best and worst of the MCU. That's a good tweet, Griffin. I'm going to like that tweet. I just liked it live on the stream. Good tweet by you, Griffin. Good analysis on that. Really good. Nice job. Griffin and I don't always see eye to eye on films, but in this case, he really nailed it. That only has 20 likes. Good tweet. Deserves at least 200 or more likes. How many likes is mine up to? I'll check in a second. We always do that. Whenever you send, tweets are funny. When you send a tweet that's super positive, it's going to go boom. If you send one super negative, it goes boom. If you send one neutral, it's like So it's got to be really harsh or really overpraising. That's why I think, look at what happened with poor Griffin here. I'm just kidding. Griffin's totally fine. But he's only got 21 likes. Is that he's in the middle. He said simultaneously some of the best and worst of the MCU. So whenever you say that, then you're in the middle. And then the tweet only gets 21 likes. By the way, you don't get paid for likes. Like Warren Thompson here, Cosmic Wonder, he has almost 1,400 likes. He's right at the border of that. You don't get paid. There's no money coming to Warren Thompson tonight or to Eric Weber or to Chris Gore. It just doesn't work like that. It might drive a little bit of traffic, but ultimately it's not going to, you don't get paid. Okay, so just remember that. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness is the wildest Marvel movie yet. It is crazy good. It's gruesome. I definitely wouldn't say it's crazy good, and I wouldn't say it's gruesome. But I mean, it has violence. I wouldn't call it gruesome. I mean, gruesome is like headshots, right? I mean, gruesome is like mega violent. The Northman, that's gruesome. Although, remember IGN had that review, and IGN was like, "It's not gruesome. It's like the violence in this is tame." Like, what are you talking? There's beheadings, and a guy gets a sword jammed through his nose, and then there's a mosaic of bodies on the side of a barn. That's not violent. What are you talking about? This is not gruesome like that. Come on. The Nerdy Basement. I don't know who this is, but Sam Raimi brings his absolute best to the multiverse of. Hold on, let me pull it up for you guys. I mean, it's like I'm reading it, so whatever. Unlike everything we've ever seen in the MCU before, great action, utterly jaw-dropping moments, emotional weight, and comedy topped with Raimi's signature horror touch. I think that is an example of taking everything that you saw and really shoving it to the positive side of things. Not saying that these things aren't in the film. I just don't think the level of, is that good. It's okay. Everyone's got their own opinion. It's subjective. Unless it's not subjective and you tell me that Eternals is a great movie, then we got a problem. Sean, I like Sean. Here's Sean's as a Raimi fan. Multiverse of Madness should have been for me, but it's insufferable. Oh, okay. I thought I was being nasty when I just said it was eh. Although there seems to have been a decent amount of freedom for Raimi, I would agree, especially at the end, the loads of exposition, generic plotting, bad acting, and sometimes awful CGI weigh this down. Worst the MCU by far. I would agree with another thing that Sean says here. The acting in the film. There's at least one thing in particular. I don't want to get into it. I can't do it. But, I do want to say that it is not great. Hey, spam is sublime regarding your kit. Yes, Fulham. I've got Fulham on tonight. Fulham wins the EFL championship. And you guys know me. I have every soccer kit known in the universe. So I pulled out my Fulham one tonight because I wanted to celebrate their winning tonight. And this is one of my favorites. It even has the patches. I've literally become like the biggest soccer nerd after watching. I'm not going to lie to you. It's because I watched Ted Lasso. All of a sudden, I'm like, I've got to get all these soccer kits from all over the world. So you're going to see different ones like every night. I've got a whole closet full. This is the Fulham tonight. So very excited they won. They played the best. Good to see them going back to the Premier League. All right, back to the movies. Scott Chronic joins us tonight. Scott was sitting next to me. So let's see what Scott has to say. I feel bad because he's like, do you want to go get drinks or something? I got to go back and do a live stream. I got to get on and do this thing. So Scott says, I feel like the female representation is pretty strong from the three co-stars and from Benedict. Yeah, absolutely. Benedict's really good. How do you feel about the subplots? I can't get into it, Scott. I'm already like tiptoeing around the whole thing, so I can't really review it. So I'm kind of like reviewing social reactions. But yes, Scott, we could talk about that, and we'll do a stream when I can. But yes, you're too deep in the weeds for me, man. Come on, Scott. It was great seeing you again. By the way, I want everyone to know, Scott, you guys maybe do not know, I do play beach volleyball. And I played against Scott is a hell of a player. I mean, this kid is really good. I'm pulling back up. Follow him on Twitter. I'll find him and retweet him here. He is a really good player. And somehow we came through, me and my partner yesterday, and we beat Scott. And I will never let him forget that. So, Scott, here on the stream, I'm calling you out. I beat you. It's the only time it's ever going to happen. It did happen. Okay. I wish someone recorded it. I would roll it live here on the live stream. There's the win. 23-21, I believe. It was overtime. What did you think of the score, Carlos? I think the score was solid. I love Danny Elfman. I think there's moments that's really good. There's a part where Scarlet Witch is doing like, she's in her trance and it's got this guitar. It's really cool. The movie has these flourishes of awesomeness, but unfortunately they're not enough. They're not there across the board. So I think the flourishes are under where they should be, but I think the score's solid. Okay. Someone's saying the I word. The I word's there. You're right. It does say that. So I'm going too far. I got to watch it. I got to rein it in a little bit here tonight or I'm going to be in trouble. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not fully talking about it. We're just talking about the film in general. Put Gore in the naughty chair. He is Gore's funny. He's either really high or really low. He's really in the middle. I thought he was. We looked at each other and went like this, and then Gore comes out and savages the film. Well, sort of. Come on, Chris. Next time, do this if you're going to go there. Don't give me this halfway thing. That's where I went with it because I think that's fair. I don't think it's as bad as you say it is. I don't agree with you, Chris Gore. You're wrong. Benjamin, back to you. Anything as good as the spleen operation scene from Ambulance? That is a very good callback to a film that was wild. No, there is nothing as crazy, as nuts, as gonzo as the spleen operation scene from Ambulance. That scene is so insane. When I watched that movie, I'm like, what the hell is happening in this movie? And that's what I kind of wanted from. That's when people say like Multiverse of Madness has this stuff that you're like, oh my god, not really. I mean, there's some stuff that's cool, but it's nothing like the spleen scene from Ambulance, which is not great, but it's like, what the hell? I mean, give them credit for going there. I mean, we can say whatever we want about those films, but let me just say this: that film goes places that I didn't expect it to go. So I've got to give the credit to where credit's due. That film is nuts. Let's go back to I'm going to try to say this: Saigonisa. Please give me pronunciation. I apologize if I messed it. I'm sure I messed that up, so I apologize. Why does Marvel sometimes have an important mid and pretty useless post-credit scene, or vice versa? I think the mid's the most important, right? And then the last one is kind of the throwaway. Typically, I don't want to say if that's exactly the case. I will just tell you there are two, and I'm not going to tell you what they were. Neither one is particularly long. How about that? Does that help you? Benjamin, back to you. Do you think the MCU will ever drop an F-bomb? I don't know, but I feel like he could get away with one, right? You get one for PG-13, I think, right? One. So I'm surprised they haven't at this point. Why not? I just think instead of him saying crap 3 times, you could have at least changed it to shit. Okay. Do I get censored for saying that? Am I allowed to do that? I bet you Scott Derrickson, Doctor Strange 2 would have been way better. Ooh, that's interesting, Beantown Brandon. I wonder about that. Would it be? That's a good question. Here's the thing again. Remember what I said. When Derrickson made Doctor Strange 1, Marvel was in a different place. It wasn't as big a brand. Don't get me wrong, Marvel's always been a big brand. But it wasn't, you know that. It wasn't as big a brand. It's now the brand. It's like everything, especially after Endgame. And I think that Derrickson was probably afforded a little more creativity with the first, and he came back in and tried to do something with the second, and he said, "Hey man, times have changed. Since you made one, we're different. The MCU is here, and now the MCU is here. So you're going to have to you're going to fall in line with what we want you to do." I think that's how it went. That's my guess. So, and that's why Derrickson said mutual parting the ways. Okay. So now, again, when you go to work for Marvel, MCU, Kevin Feige calls the shots. That's just how it goes. So you have to understand that going in as a director, you're not going to get to call all the shots. Ultimately, you're going to be trumped by Feige, who says, "This is what I want. Not that. I want this." And you can't go, "No, I want this." That's going to get you fired, right? Just do the thing that they tell you to do. How do you think general audience will respond to this? 200 million opening weekend gone. I don't know. I was at 222. After seeing it, I am bringing it down. I'm going to put it right around 2 now. I just feel like the word of mouth will not be as strong as I was hoping. I think it'll be okay, but I don't think it'll be bad. It won't be bad word of mouth. It just won't be glowing word of mouth like No Way Home. People came out of No Way Home and they just, oh my God, you got to see the 3 Spider-Men. You have to see this movie. There's this real need to see that movie right then. That's why it opened at 260. So now this film, I think when the word comes out, you notice it's more muted tonight, right? Look at the reactions. In fact, mine was middle and there's more negative than I really thought that we'd be everyone kind of in the middle. There's more negative now showing up. So that's not good. Also, I think that Disney knew this. Let me tell you why. Because Disney had the premiere and the first screenings tonight. Usually they have that the week before it opens. So it would have been last Monday, not this Monday. That speaks to, hey, maybe we don't have as strong a film. They did do Eternals really early, and I think they got a little burned by that. So I think maybe that was when I saw that the date was the same week, that really made me say, I wonder. Matthews, again, of all the MCU directors, okay to say James Gunn got the most freedom from Marvel's clutches. Yes. And you know what's interesting to say, and again, remember, when we go back to that film, it was 2014, correct? 2014 for that film. So when you go and you look at Marvel, let me put up Marvel box office. Give me 1 second. I'll pop it up for you guys. When you go back and look, that was a film that was not full wattage MCU again, right? Just like we talked about with Doctor Strange. So I'm gonna go back and let's pop up the actual uh release dates here. Okay, so let's go back. So we're going to go back to let's go back to like you just said. We go back to 2014. I want to say 2014. Tell me I was right. Guardians of the Galaxy, August 1st, 2014. Remember that was August. That was a film that people had very low expectations to and then James Gunn delivers that film. That is 100%. It's a very good call and I would agree 100% with that, Matthews. That if you look at all the MCU films, the one that has the biggest directorial imprint is Guardians of the Galaxy. No question, 1 and 2. If you give that to another director, you don't have the same film at all. If you give Doctor Strange 2 to another director, you have a very similar film. Maybe not the Raimi at the end, but it's similar. If you give Guardians of the Galaxy to a cookie cutter director, you aren't getting one of the best MCU films ever. Right? It's in my top 5, the first Guardians. So yes, but again, we go back to that. That's 2014, okay? You got to remember that at that point we had just finished up Iron Man 3 was 2013. We had the first Avengers, but we were still building. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy was a big part of the build for Marvel. That film was a phenomenon. I mean, it opened at 94 million, which is nothing, right? You guys, that's nothing. And it ended up with 333 domestic. That's a huge multiple. Okay. It's a 3 multiple plus, and it wasn't expected to do that. But then you start to see the build. Then you had Ultron in 2015. Okay. Now we're really building. Then you have Civil War 2016. Then you have Doctor Strange. So you're still build. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And then we get to Black Panther. When we hit Black Panther, okay, you're talking about a $200 million opening. You're talking about a film that just threw the wattage up. That's where we cemented the MCU as the brand it is today, is Black Panther in 2018, right ahead of Infinity War. Black Panther pushed it to the top, and then Infinity War kept it there, and then we've been there really ever since. You go back and you look at, obviously, Ant-Man versus Wasp. That was a small film, a $75 million opening, by the way. But we all knew that wasn't going to be as big. But that's when we got to that point, and Endgame cemented it. But now you look at where we are, and we haven't had a really great Disney MCU film since Endgame. Let me say this. You know this too. No Way Home is a Sony movie. Okay, it's a Sony MCU film. It's MCU, but it's not Disney MCU. This is full on Disney MCU. So as such, that means that we are now in a space where we need to get another great MCU Disney film. I don't know when it's coming. Maybe it's Love and Thunder. If it's not that, are we going to go to Black Panther 2? It better be Black Panther 2. We got to get back to that because we have not had it with Eternals. We've not had it with Black Widow. We've not had it here tonight with Doctor Strange 2. Let's go to Cyber Grand. Hello, sir. Hello to you. When Avengers new movies going to come? That's a great. I mean, I have no idea what the exact timeline. I imagine they've got to build. I mean, we're not even close to that yet. We've got a long way to go. I mean, look, it was a decade plus, right? And they finally got it. We really got Endgame at the end. So I feel like we're going to be a while for that. They have to get back on track. They need to get back on serious track. I hope it's Love and Thunder, and I really hope it is what's it called? Black Panther 2. Thank you. Scott Mendelson. I love Scott Mendelson. Let's find out what he said. I think he went to the premiere. Scott's so cool. He got to go to the premiere, but I heard there wasn't a party, so whatever, Scott. You got to go to the premiere. You saw the same movie I saw. You're not that cool. I'm just kidding. He's cool. He's the biggest box office nerd ever. And I say that with love. Scott is the smartest guy. If you want to talk about box office with that guy, he will go back and tell you the opening number for any film ever made. That guy is insane. He's an encyclopedia. He's a walking encyclopedia, that guy. Let me see here. Let's find Scott Mendelson. I know I follow him. He follows me. I could direct message him and say, hey, join me on the stream right now. Actually, he's probably driving home. Let's find out. Let's click on it. my computer's going crazy. Twitter desktop sucks. Can I say that one more time for you guys? Does that work? It does. I never use it except when I have to do these streams, and then I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll show you the Twitter. It's starting to freeze up on me. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Doctor Strange has a paper-thin plot with superb visuals and gruesomely violent set pieces. It's often reminiscent of when the MCU was just another franchise. It'll piss off folks who are way too invested in these characters, and thus Marvel's most subversive film since Iron Man 3. How does he only have 35 likes? What's going on with this, Scott? This is remember what I told you. If you have a middle of the road reaction, guess what happens? You don't get the likes that you want. Again, who cares though? Because you don't get paid for likes. My Batman one had like 4,500 likes. No check came from. I was going to there's no check. Where's the check from Twitter? I wish it worked like that. Then I would say everything was great. Everything's terrible. Great or terrible. Nothing in the middle. Middle is never going to work. Let's go a few more here. Almost an hour here tonight. I got to get to bed. This is way past my bedtime, 11 o'clock. I know it's sad, isn't it? Would you say Strange has a proper arc in this film? Yes, I would. Cumberbatch is quoted as an interview saying he wasn't sure. Yeah, I think so. I do. I think it's got the whole thing. I don't think that's the issue. Carlos, I can't get into it more than that, but I don't think that is the issue. I just don't think the emotion's that strong in it. Have you seen the Avatar 2 teaser trailer? No, I have not, Leah. I was hoping to see it tonight. They didn't show it. I'd heard they'd show it to some people. Whatever reason, they didn't do it for us. And that's really weird because we're in LA. So it's like, why are you not showing it to the LA press? We're like the cool people. We think we are. And a couple more. We're going to wrap this thing here tonight. Again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that. Midnight Movie Talk. We're going to do it on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Tonight, we did it Monday because we had, obviously, the reaction for this film. So that's a special edition of the Midnight Movie Talk. But we'll be back on likely tomorrow, but definitely Thursday. Let's go. Last one here. What are the chances for another Sam Raimi CBM, or specifically Raimi MCU movie? I would say low. Again, I feel like the directors get in the MCU. They understand that they're getting all this feedback from Feige. It's not maybe what they anticipated, and then they maybe don't want to do it again. I have not talked to Chloe Zhao. I would imagine that if I asked her off the record, she would say, I'm never planning to do another MCU movie because you don't have the artistic freedom that you had on Nomadland, that you had on The Rider. You just don't have that level of freedom that you get. And, I've mentioned this before. I've talked to numerous indie directors, such as the Safdie brothers. I talked to Safdie brothers right after Uncut Gems, said, hey, what would you do if DC came to you? And DC lets you have more freedom than MCU, right? We know that. So DC, what if they came to you and said, hey, do you want to make a movie? Safdies. And they said, no, we want to make our own thing. They want their own artistic freedom to work in their own space and make the films they want to make. And I think that for Sam Raimi, I mean, he's made his films. I don't know. I feel like we would want to see another. I want to see another horror film from Sam Raimi. I just don't think we're ever going to see another Sam Raimi MCU movie. So again, decent film. Not as bad as some are saying. Certainly not as good as others. I think we're in the middle of the road on this. And that's not a review. That's reviewing my social reaction here tonight. I look forward to seeing you guys on Thursday for sure. Check back tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Might be here, might not. We'll find out. And then I know for sure on Thursday, we'll talk about box office and overall thoughts on this film more in depth. But I appreciate everyone watching tonight on Midnight Movie Talk. Like, subscribe, comment away, find me on Twitter. Enjoy the rest of your Monday night. We'll talk again very soon. Good night to you.